Well, I think the most important thing about this right now, Lauren, as we are on scene, is that this just highlights the unpredictability of this fire that started yesterday just after 3 o'clock. And 2 hours after a press conference wrapped up with county and local leaders and also officials from Vistra outlining the status of the fire, that it was pretty, for the most part, pretty much out, smoldering. We're driving by, headed to Moss Landing. This is what we came across. And look at that, flames just billowing from this rooftop of the Vistra Energy facility over here at Moss Landing, sending a huge plume of gray, possibly very toxic smoke into the air. And I don't know. I don't know what happened. This is, that's why I say the unpredictability of this fire, because as we were reporting yesterday at 5 o'clock, this fire was all but out. And then it flared up again around 5:15 and then turned into an inferno kind of what like you're seeing right here. And Lauren, I have to be honest, what I'm seeing now compared to what I saw last night, this looks more extreme. This is clearly, I think, a bigger fire than what we were reporting on throughout the night last night. I, I don't know what happened, but we do know that at this press conference they held a short while ago, that according to Vistra, their own internal fire suppression systems failed yesterday, leading to that fire erupting to an out of control fire. And now, as you're seeing, it has erupted again and is now another uncontrollable fire as flames erupt from this Vistra Energy power plant over here in Moss Landing. Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, just staggering images to see yet again after we knew that this fire was all but out just a few hours ago. I mean, the fire chief saying this morning at this news conference it was only about 1 to 5% of what it was last night. But look at that. Here it is again this afternoon, just raging, coming from that facility and that power plant facility. And we know that the toxic smoke, that's the real concern here. That's, it could be spewing heavy metals or toxins into the air. It could be dangerous, for the surrounding area. That is why 1,200 people in the surrounding area around Moss Landing and the surrounding communities are under evacuation, mandatory evacuation orders because of that.
And Lauren, if I could add, look at as this. I'm going to get out of the picture here. So you see the the flames on the right-hand side of your screen, but then just between the twin stacks and the flames, look at that black smoke billowing from that area.
Look at that.
I have to imagine that's another fire
Yet
that's
another
about
one.
to erupt. And from my vantage point, I can't tell if it's the same facility or a different facility on the same grounds, because keep in mind there are two facilities here. This is the one operated by Vistra Energy, the other one operated by PG&E that has the Tesla power packs. And two similar facilities, different companies, but at the same location. And I can't tell if it's a different building that's now on fire, and that possibly the concern that we were talking about last night is that maybe the fire is spreading. I'm not sure if that has happened, but that cloud of smoke between the smokestacks and the fire that's burning out of control right now is getting darker, it's getting bigger, and clearly this has to be raising a lot of concerns. I'm told that the county leaders, they following the press conference we had, they came out to the IC Incident Command Center that is set up directly across from the power plant right by the former whole enchilada. I could only imagine their reaction as they see these flames billowing again and this huge gray plume of smoke going into the air. As you mentioned at the press conference, the evacuation orders remain in place, and that was out of an abundance of caution, because what we heard at the press conference is that the toxic levels are were coming in low, that they were saying it didn't pose a health risk, but they were keeping that evacuation order in place until they got more concrete results regarding the toxicity of this plume of smoke. So that evacuation order remains in place. And I'm sure now, based on what we're seeing here, it's going to remain in place for quite some time. And now, of course, the big question is, how much longer is this fire going to burn? And is it spreading to other buildings within this former Moss Landing power plant? But look at that, incredible.
And Felix, we're just getting word here that Monterey County just sending out a new notification to Monterey County residents, advising residents to stay indoors again because these flames are picking up yet again, and because of that toxic smoke that's billowing up into the air, into the surrounding communities, that mandatory evacuations will remain in place surrounding this area as this fire just continues to rage on this afternoon here in Moss Landing. Action News 8 reporter Brooke Kennebrew is also live here this afternoon. She's just outside of Castroville. Let's see if she has a different perspective on this, a different vantage point. Brooke, what's the latest out there where you are?
Yeah, I'm in Castroville. I'm on Washington Street, which is, right off of Merritt Street. But I'm going to step out the way so you guys can see. We've been out here for probably an hour. And yeah, over the last probably 30-ish minutes, I mean, clearly you can see it starting to flare up again. And just trying to understand, what caused this, what caused the flare up, and, the county, how they're responding. Because I was talking to Nick Pascoli, he's with the Monterey County, and he even saying, from where we are, that we're too close. But he told us he's trying to find me right now. So I've been out here looking for him. He says he has some more information that's important. I'm not sure what that information is, but we're trying to find him so we can get, whatever message out. But yeah, I mean, just a lot of smoke in the air. Obviously, again, you can see the flames, but really just trying to understand what caused this flare up. Again, reminding, folks to stay indoors. But, just being out here and seeing what it looked like before and now seeing it flare up again is just, is shocking. And I was talking with my photographer, and he raised the question of, it looked like, don't want to make any assumptions, not sure what's going on, but not sure if it was a second fire or where the other flames were coming from. So definitely have some questions about that. But again, this is our viewpoint. Do want to make note, the Environmental Protection Agency, they sent me a statement earlier as well. They've been out here. They sent contractors. They arrived on scene last night. They sent their personnel. They sent 4 air monitoring specialists, and more equipment is currently en route. Obviously, they're focusing a lot on the LA fires, but they were able to get some people up here. So I'm waiting on more information from them. Waiting to speak with Nick Pascoli. He should be here any moment. And once we get that important information that he said he wants to send out to the county, will come back to me. So I'm going to send it back to you in the studio for now, Aaron.
Yeah, sounds good. Brooke, thanks. And like Brooke mentioned, the EPA on scene, they are conducting tests. Meantime, this is the evacuation zone here. And I want to read you the alert from Monterey County here. Quote, due to an ongoing large fire in Moss Landing, Monterey County health officials advising residents to stay indoors, keep windows and doors closed, limit outdoor exposure, and turn off ventilation systems. Monitor local news, social media for additional updates, and then they will provide further information, obviously, as this is a situation that's just unfolding at the moment. Again, here's the evacuation order zone. This is for Monterey County, Santa Cruz and San Benito County not included here. 1,200 residents here from Moss Landing through the surrounding communities that are under those mandatory evacuation orders. Temporary evacuation zone has been set up at Castroville Recreation Center. That's on Crane Street. We know that they have currently about 11 families out there that the Red Cross is helping, who are out of their homes as this fire continues to rage on. Again, another look, a live look at the scene, at the flames. And as Felix mentioned, you can really see the difference there between those two spots where it looks like there are two separate fires at this power plant here. You can see the flames on one and then the smoke billowing on another. Here's a different view here, live look from one of our sky cams just outside of Moss Landing. And you can really see those two different columns of smoke there. So lots of questions that need to be answered as to what happened. Why did it reignite? It seems as maybe there's another fire separately that has sparked as well. And just trying to figure out, what's going on there at Moss Landing this afternoon as we thought we were headed toward, the resolution of this. But the main issue, is the air, is the toxins in the air. That's why the EPA is in town. That's why they're doing the tests. That's why people are asking, or the county is urging people to remain indoors and keep windows and doors shut, is because of the toxicity that's in the air because of these, these batteries that are on fire. Toxic smoke, the real concern. It could be spewing heavy metals and toxins into the air. And during our broadcast Thursday evening, we spoke with an immunologist and allergy specialist, Dr. Stephen Prager with Salinas Valley Health, about the possible health hazards with a fire like this.
We have two things to deal with here. One is just the regular smoke from the fire, and that's going to irritate anyone's nose and lungs. But here we're dealing with a chemical fire. I don't really know exactly what's in the air, and I'm not sure anyone else does. And these chemical fires at low concentrations can make anyone's eyes, nose hurt. At higher concentrations, it can become hard to breathe, and they're going to affect everybody, not just those with chronic lung disease. Where we really start to worry, though, is when they're exposed to the really high concentrations of these chemicals. This can permanently scar the lungs and cause, life-threatening breathing problems.
Santa Cruz County and San Benito County telling residents that there is no imminent threat to the public. Again, that's Santa Cruz and San Benito County, not Monterey County, though. And then they're saying in those other two counties, you can resume normal activities, but sensitive groups should continue to monitor air quality and stay indoors. The public should keep indoors and keep those windows shut. We want to go back out to Felix. We're hearing that he has new information, maybe an update there on the scene. Felix, what's the latest out there with you?
Spokesperson for Monterey County, Nicholas Pasculi, and we're told that they're planning to hold another press conference within the next hour. This is going to again consist of county leaders. I'm told Supervisor Glenn Church, who represents this area, including Chris Lopez, the chair of the Board of Supervisors. We're also told State Senator John Lair is going to be there, State Assemblywoman Dawn Addis, to address this thing. And one thing I did ask the spokesperson, Nick Pasculi, is I tried to get a sense of the thinking, of the feeling that these county leaders are experiencing right now, because keep in mind, they left the press conference, they went to the Incident Command Center just behind the whole enchilada to kind of get a better idea, a scope of this fire, only to get there and see what we're seeing, this fire erupt into another stage, and I don't know what happened. Nobody knows what happened. But again, that press conference tentatively set for about an hour from now. And I want to also mention, Lauren, that as we were driving into Moss Landing, we were going to that Incident Command Center because we were told the California State Energy Commissioner is in town to witness this firsthand. And of course, they obviously, I'm sure, have an interest on what's going on here, because keep in mind, this battery storage facility, the main purpose of it is to store energy for our California electrical grid when demand is high and supply is low. That's the purpose of this. So clearly California has an interest in facilities like this. So that's very likely why the State Energy Commissioner was in town. We were on our way to go see if we could interview him. And this is what we saw as we started approaching Moss Landing. This fire at the Vistra Energy power plant, or plant over here at the former Moss Landing power plant, erupting again into an inferno that, as we were told today, there is just no way that firefighters can go in there and battle this blaze. It's too hot, it's too intense, and it's too dangerous, and they just have no way to combat this fire on the ground or in the air. And as we've been talking about, and as Vistra mentioned earlier today at that press conference, they said that their internal fire suppression system somehow failed. And that's the big question, why it failed. And this is the result of what we have as a result of that system failing, this fire erupting again. Look at that. I'm gonna have Tom just to talk about, we talk about the toxicity of this plume of smoke, but look at this plume of smoke and then just look at the direction that it's going. This is a larger area than I think is covered under this mandatory evacuation. It goes back into the slough, back there you go, there's Prunedale, that area. Look at where it's going. It's incredible. This is going to start going down the valley. This is a long plume, and it just has this long tail that's stretching out from over here in Moss Landing. That definitely has to be a concern, and whether this is something that the Monterey County leaders address in terms of extending possibly this mandatory evacuation, or maybe even an advisory to areas beyond this evacuation zone. Lauren?
Yeah, Felix, our meteorologist Kyle Bergerson has been talking about a shift in the winds all morning, and we're certainly seeing that evident here by the plume of smoke and how much it is billowing into the air. And like you said, possibly down the valley at one point, which, we'll have to wait and see what the Monterey County Sheriff's Office decides to do and what the county decides to do as far as possibly extending or expanding that evacuation order, warning, or whatnot, advisory. I mean, look at that. As we thought we were nearing the conclusion of this fire, just picked right back up, and here we go again.
And I thought, honestly, I thought the conclusion was yesterday when I went on air at 5 o'clock. I thought we'd seen the last of it. I get off air, start seeing smoke billowing from the vents on top of that rooftop, and then half an hour, 45 minutes later, it erupted into what we're seeing here. And what I said earlier, Lauren, when I got here first on scene a short while ago, what I'm seeing now and what I saw a short while ago clearly looked worse and more intense than what I was seeing last night.
We heard earlier, Felix, at that news conference from North Monterey County Fire Chief Joel Mendoza, who said, the fire just completely overpowered their ability to stop the fire, reporting that, thankfully this morning was 5%, but now here we are back again, if not bigger, like you mentioned, than we were yesterday. And he just said that his crew is just completely strapped. I mean, they're doing all they can. But a fire like this, that they're not able to go in and they just have to let it burn to what it is until those backup suppression systems are able to, be put into effect. Wow.
Yeah, and then still the concern that plume of dark black smoke just on the left of that fire, and the question, has it escaped that containment? Because as it was burning, keep in mind, this facility it's a cement block building. That fire was contained in that facility. So that little section of black smoke, is that another building within this facility, or is it just an extension of that building? I really can't make it out because it's kind of blocked with those trees right there. But the question I have is, has this fire spread to a different part of this overall facility that, as I mentioned, has two facilities here, or two plants. The one operated by PG&E and Tesla, and then of course the one where the major fire is going on, operated by Vistra Energy.
I mean, zoomed in, it looks like it's certainly separate there as you watch that second area of smoke there on the left-hand side of your screen. Certainly looks like a separate fire. Supervisor Glenn Church, who...
And, you know,
oh, go ahead, Felix.
Oh, I was just going to say, when I was speaking with the public spokesperson, Nick Pasquale, I try to gauge the thought processes of the people who are the county leaders who showed up, and he said, Felix, I could only describe them as being speechless and in shock. And they're much closer than I am. They're right there behind the whole enchilada, by the harbor. That's where we were staged last night, and you could see a lot of flamage from there. But we just pulled over here because this is a good vantage point, and I think it keeps us far enough away. But shock and speechless coming from county leaders who were at the same press conference that started at 10 o'clock this morning, and were relieved, had some relief that this fire was extinguishing itself, was burning out. And now for them to come out here and see what they're seeing now, and seeing what all you are seeing along with us, incredible. And clearly has to be some disappointment and some major concerns, and again, more questions being raised.
No kidding. And Felix, as you mentioned, they're planning on holding another news conference here within the hour. So we're expected to hear from county officials again on the latest situation out there in Moss Landing. I want to pull up some sound from Supervisor Glenn Church, if we can, who represents this part of Monterey County. He had some very strong words this morning about what's going on at the power plant.
You know, there must be accountability for this, and there will be accountability.
Yeah, so you're hearing from Supervisor Glenn Church. There must be accountability for this. There will be accountability. We want to give you some background here on Vistra Energy. They're a Texas-based company. It specializes in retail electricity, which refers to the sale of electricity to home and businesses and power generation. Company says they are one of the largest competitive electricity providers in the U.S. and had just finished the third phase of an expansion to boost California's electric grid in 2023, believed to be the largest battery storage facility of its kind in the world. Vistra Energy having a representative at the news conference this morning saying that, quote, safety is number one for them, and they are going to, work through this situation as they apologize for the impact that it's having on the surrounding community, Moss Landing, and those around it. Let's go back to our evacuation map once more, just to show you the area that's right now being impacted by this fire. 1,200 people affected in that zone who are under mandatory evacuation orders. And this covers the entire Moss Landing community, as well as rural areas around the battery power plant. Temporary evacuation zone has been set up at the Castroville Recreation Center on Crane Street. That's for those in there in that evacuation zone. So we want to set this up for you. This fire initially started around 3 Thursday afternoon, burning through the night with flames reaching at least 50 feet up into the air. And then North Monterey County Fire Chief Joel Mendoza saying that the built-in fire suppression systems that initially they worked as expected. That's why the fire was extinguished relatively quickly, but then just overpowered and blew up. And that's what we saw yesterday as a result, making it unable for them to get in there and stop the fire. Chief Mendoza reporting at that news conference this morning that the flames had then died down. We were hopeful that that was the end of it. And less than 5% of what it was at its peak, hoping that it would be extinguished. And then here we are again this afternoon, shortly after 12, just back up flaring and we're taking another live look out here. This is right next to the power plant, and you can just see the smoke, the toxic smoke billowing into the air. We want to get the latest on air quality, if we can, and the winds, how the weather. We've been hearing from meteorologist Kyle Bergerson all morning about how the winds were going to shift, and how that was going to have a direct impact on what we thought was an extinguished fire, and now we have yet again flames and smoke billowing up into the air. And as we saw from Felix's camera, just possibly heading down the valley already, just outside of what looks like the evacuation zone. But we would like to get the latest on the winds and weather conditions. We're bringing in Ariana Riza now with the latest on what that means, that impact for our community this afternoon.
Yeah, now we're seeing those winds coming from the northwest. So we're seeing that sea breeze, and that's why Felix was talking about, we're seeing that plume of smoke going down the valley. It's because we're seeing that northwesterly flow, and that is pushing it towards where areas like Salinas is, down the Salinas Valley. So that's where we're going to see most of those impacts. Right now, when it does come to some of these wind speeds, we're looking at 6 to 10 miles per hour. So we're not seeing any of those major gusty wind conditions, but still 7 miles per hour, 6 miles per hour right now in Watsonville. That's still good enough, again, to push that plume of smoke into the nearby cities, into areas like Castroville, all the way towards Salinas. Now, those winds will continue to be coming from mostly the northwest as we head in throughout this afternoon. Now, winds will slowly continue to pick up like we normally do see. We get that wind flow that just continues to build up as we continue to head into Saturday. Still expecting to see some of those gusty conditions. Now, the good thing is that when it does come to some of those wind speeds that we are seeing, we're not seeing anything, again, just like I said, pretty major. Relative humidity pretty much in the 60s to 70s. So we're not having any of those major fire elements out there across the Central Coast, but it is just pretty much when it does come to all those wind speeds and all those wind conditions. Now, we do also have that marine layer. As we head into tonight, we'll also see some of that marine layer coming back again, along with some of that coastal fog. So when we head into tonight, if you see some of those darker clouds and some of that fog, it is not the smoke, so don't be completely alarmed, especially near some of our other coastal spots like Santa Cruz. I know Santa Cruz County was mentioning that they don't have any major issues that they have for any of their community out there when it does come to the winds. Now, as we head into tomorrow, we could potentially see those offshore winds coming back again. So when we get those offshore winds change direction once again, and instead of coming down towards Salinas and down the Salinas Valley, that's when we'll start to see winds pushing back towards the Santa Cruz County area. So we'll continue to monitor those winds and those wind speeds, not expecting to see major wind speeds, pretty much the moderate to light, around 5-10 miles per hour. And then that is going to affect that air quality when it comes to especially those sensitive groups. Now, we really want to get this fire out as we head into this weekend, because as we head more into Monday, Tuesday, there is mention from the National Weather Service where we'll start to see more of those gusty winds and more of that offshore flow. And National Weather Service is saying that there is a potential to potentially see some moderate, strong winds when it comes to that offshore wind event as we head back into the start of this week. So that's something we'll also continue to monitor. But as for right now, that's what we have for those winds, and we'll also continue to track when it comes to some of that air quality as well.
Ariana, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We want to go back out to Felix live there at the scene. I think this might be his shot here. Oh, there we are. Back to Felix out at the scene.
Yeah, Lauren, I'm speechless, as is our county leaders and state leaders who were just at a press conference where we were learning that this fire was all but out. And it's, as you can see behind me, this is clearly not the situation, as this fire again has erupted over here at the Vistra Energy Power Plant. I've said it before, it clearly looks worse than what I was witnessing last night, throughout the night, as we were posted up right outside one of the entrances to the Vistra Power Plant right off of Dolan Road. We're literally about 200 yards from that facility, and we just had to get out of there. One, because we were being told to. It was this evacuation and we were on private property. And then obviously the other, the safety concerns and health risk that might be associated with this huge plume of smoke that is billowing into the air. I mean, keep in mind, this is a battery energy storage facility lithium ion batteries. Who knows what's in that plume of smoke? Toxins, heavy metals. But we do know that apparently preliminary tests taken last night and this morning show that there were low levels of concentration and that it did not pose a severe risk to the outlying communities. But obviously, we don't know enough information. They're doing more tests, as they should be doing, and not until we learn more about possibly if the toxicity of this plume of smoke, the contents, and the danger that people could be exposed to it, this mandatory evacuation order will remain in place for surrounding areas of Moss Landing. And as we were told this morning, that zone roughly impacted about 1,200 people in and around the Moss Landing area who have been impacted by this mandatory evacuation from the fire that we thought was out at 5 and then early this morning. But again, Lauren, as you can see, has erupted into a ball of fire.
Felix, we're hearing that there will be a news conference here within the hour, the one you told us about. This will be with Assemblymember Addis and Supervisor Church. That's going to be within the hour at Power Plant Coffee. And so we actually have a crew on the way there that we will bring that to you live when we are at that news conference that's set to take place within the hour.
Yeah, and we'll be at that. We'll be at that press conference as well too, Lauren. I mean, clearly there have to be some questions as what happened. I mean, I don't know if they can even answer why this thing is reigniting. I mean, just based on the contents of what's in that facility, and that we know firsthand from Vistra that their fire suppression system has failed. So this fire, if it was smoldering, if in fact it was smoldering and it just reignited and now it's spreading to other parts of the building, possibly to other parts of the facility. And look, I can now see that one area to the left of your screen between the flames and the former smokestacks. We can now see flames just above that tree line. If Tom, you can zoom in to where that little plume, that was an area that we were concerned about. Aaron or Lauren, I was telling you about that new area of smoke. We can now see flames erupting from that area as well. So another concern, and the unknown, and I can't tell from here if it's another facility, another building, or it's just an extension of this fire at the existing Vistra energy plant.
Yeah, we are totally seeing flames up close here, Felix, on both of those locations. Let's see if we can pan again to the left, right above that tree line, where you can see flames in both locations that are separate there on the power plant facility. Lots of questions that need to be answered here, and hopefully we're able to at least get some of them answered at this news conference that's happening within the hour. Again, flames reignited at the Moss Landing power plant facility. And we're watching this unfold right now live. We want to check back in with meteorologist Ariana Riza for the latest on the winds and how it's shifting and what's happening out there.
Now, went ahead and added that air quality sensor map to showcase what we're seeing when it comes to those winds and that air quality, because wind speeds right now, if you're just joining us, are coming from the northwest. So this past week, we've been seeing the offshore winds that would have been pushing all of that plume of smoke all the way into areas like Santa Cruz near Watsonville. Now that's not the case anymore. We have those northwest winds, we have that sea breeze, and that's going to be pushing in that plume of smoke around Castroville, Salinas, down the valley, and even in areas just about near where the Monterey Peninsula is. And we can get some good indication that it's already impacting that air quality. And this is our air quality map right now. And when I'm talking about how you can see that impacting it, right now we got the red dot in Salinas indicating unhealthy. So not only for sensitive groups, it's unhealthy for everyone that's heading out there, even for pets, children, any adults that are walking out and about. Not a good time to be outdoors when it comes to that air quality. Now we're seeing sensitive groups out in Monterey, but that's a different story as we make our way towards Carmel Valley, down the Salinas Valley. Now we're talking hazardous when it comes to that air quality. It is not good for anyone, not good to be outside, to have any windows open, because despite the pleasant day we're having with the sunshine and the dry conditions, a lot of people do keep their windows open, keep their doors open, especially when we have that sea breeze. A lot of people do rely on this for that sea breeze to help cool them down and act as their natural air conditioning. It's not a good day to do that. Again, we have that hazardous condition out in Carmel Valley, all the way down towards King City. Unhealthy groups, Salinas, still seeing unhealthy groups even out in Santa Cruz, all the way out towards Hollister. So we don't really know, and again, in this plume of smoke, despite just the fire, you also have any of those chemicals that is in that fire from all those batteries. So not a good day to be outside, or any good time to even have those windows open once again. Now, we'll continue to watch when it comes to those wind speeds. They're pretty light to moderate right now, ranging around 5 to 10 miles per hour. That's good news because we don't see those 20-mile-per-hour winds. We don't have any advisories in the place at the moment. Now, as we head into tonight, we will get some coastal fog starting to rebuild along with that marine layer. So when you're in certain areas, you might get it mistaken for that smoke. It probably is not going to be that smoke, especially because, again, that fog and some of that marine layer pushing its way back even in towards some of our inland areas. So we'll continue to see winds calming as we head into overnight into the early hours tomorrow morning. But this is when things begin to slightly change. Now, in those early hours tomorrow morning, winds shift direction. We start to see more of an offshore flow rather than that sea breeze. And this is when it can change the direction of where that plume of smoke is going. So as we head into the early hours, we'll see winds coming from the northeast. Now that could push some of that plume of smoke down towards the Monterey Peninsula, and even could push it towards some of our other areas as you head towards the Santa Cruz region as we head into those early hours, again, with some of that offshore flow. Then it changes again. So even though we'll see that offshore flow early in the morning, as you wake up in the morning, it could be bringing some of that hazardous air quality for some of our other areas compared to what we're seeing right now, again, mainly due to that shift of the winds. Then as we head into Saturday afternoon into the evening, the winds come back from the northwest. So this could be mostly impactful for areas like Salinas, down the Salinas Valley, even other areas where we're seeing around the Monterey Peninsula, Marina, Seaside, indicating those hazardous air quality. And again, that's going to be due to mainly because of those northwest winds, just once again, continuously bringing that plume of smoke into those regions. We'll continue to see that same pattern as we head into Sunday, but we really want to hope that this is all put out before we head into the start of the week into Monday, because that's where the National Weather Service is tracking more of an offshore flow, and that's when they're even indicating that that could be more of a moderate, gusty wind event. No advisories in place for that, but still that could be more hazardous and put more of that plume of smoke into the Santa Cruz region, and then that's when you get those gusty winds, and that can lead to some other issues as well.
We will definitely be monitoring that. Ariana, thank you. County officials issuing a local state of emergency this morning because of the toxicity from what's being burned up in this fire. We're talking batteries again. Toxic smoke, the real concern here, could be spewing heavy metals and toxins into the air that could be dangerous. During our broadcast Thursday evening, we spoke with an immunologist and allergy specialist, Dr. Stephen Prager, with Salinas Valley Health about the possible health hazards with a fire like this.
We have two things to deal with here. One is just the regular smoke from the fire, and that's going to irritate anyone's nose and lungs. But here we're dealing with a chemical fire. I don't really know exactly what's in the air, and I'm not sure anyone else does. And these chemical fires at low concentrations can make anyone's eyes, nose hurt. At higher concentrations, it can become hard to breathe, and they're going to affect everybody, not just those with chronic lung disease. Where we really start to worry, though, is when they're exposed to the really high concentrations of these chemicals. This can permanently scar the lungs and cause, life-threatening breathing problems.
Now, Monterey County is sending out an alert to residents saying to stay indoors, saying, quote, due to an ongoing large fire in Moss Landing, Monterey County health officials advising residents to stay indoors, keep windows and doors closed, limit outdoor exposure, and turn off ventilation. Santa Cruz County and San Benito County, though, telling residents no imminent threat to the public. In those two counties, they can resume normal activities, but sensitive groups should continue to monitor air quality. And when indoors, the public should keep indoors with the windows and doors closed. We will have the latest on that local news conference that's coming up within the hour. We will bring you updates on all of this breaking news situation on air, also online, ksbw.com, and on our mobile app. And we want to join programming in progress now.